Welcome to Drugs, Brain, and Behavior Fall 2022. My name is Dr. Eric Olson. I am here to be your guide through this class. I have studied drugs, brain, and behavior for a very long time. My undergraduate research even focused on how drugs affect neurotransmission in rats. For my most recent postdoctoral drug research, I've been working on cannabinoids and trying to understand how various endogenous cannabinoids interact with the dopaminergic system and how that's different than some exogenous cannabinoids like the synthetic cannabinoid Win-Win 52122, similar to Spice Gold versus Delta 9 THC. I've also done a lot of work with heroin, a little bit with alcohol, and I like to joke that I finished my PhD in under 5 years because I did it on cocaine, which is very true. But nevertheless, I am here to help introduce you to drugs, brain, and behavior. I hope to make this a flexible class for you that can accommodate anybody's work-life balance and schedule. Think of my deadlines that I'm imposing in here to be things to help you stay on track rather than things that will prevent you from succeeding in the class. I have no interest or desire in weeding anybody out. That is definitely not a goal of mine in this class. If everybody makes an A, fantastic. I'm fine with this. But let's just try to do the best that we can and learn as much as we can. So I'm going to swing you through the syllabus here, but first I'll just give you a little personal info about me, in addition to the fact that I have a PhD in neuroscience and am qualified to teach a class. I do like things outside of science as well. First, my family just went through a major transition. We just moved to the state of Maine from Colorado. I literally just moved into my office and I'm looking at unpacked boxes around me right now. So hopefully you'll see a little more decoration on the walls trickle in as we go through the semester. My wife took a job at Bates College, sort of a dream job of hers, and I had sort of multiple things that contributed to me wanting to tag along and move out here. And importantly, also in this equation, I have two young children, 10 and 8, that take most of my time and energy outside of work. But in addition to that, I love watching and playing somewhat, but more watching these days, a variety of sports. I especially love basketball. Right now, I'm very much enthralled by the WNBA playoffs. I don't know if anybody's following this at all. It's sort of sad to see BG and DT out of it. I was pulling for the Mercury this time last year. However, this year, they got blown out yesterday, but I'm very interested in seeing how Sabrina Ionescu does against the much better and talented Chicago Sky team. They have one more game guaranteed, one to look into, I would recommend. Sabrina is phenomenal. She tries, if anything, maybe too hard, definitely has that sort of Mamba mentality that was instilled in her. But in addition to sports, I like soccer a lot too. Went to a good many games at the Rapid Stadium at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. I like that a lot in Denver. I also love music. I in all genres of music. I like going to the opera. I'm really weird about that. It's sort of a weird relationship with my wife. She hates the opera, and I'm that sort of weird, like, I can't drag her. She'll come begrudgingly every now and then, but I usually get season tickets. And in Colorado, I had 3 season tickets. I had them to the one downtown, the one up in the little mining mountain area, and then also down in Santa Fe. But here in Maine, I'll have to get some tickets to Boston, I guess. Maybe even the Met in New York. But anyway, I also like sports, music a lot, in addition to going to the theater and opera. You know, I've seen Slayer in a church. I love heavy metal music. I've seen Meshuggah. I have, uh, you know, seen Bella Fleck. I've seen John Medeski play in many different uh, groups. I pretty much like anything he is involved in. Same with Bella. I'm really into Run the Jewels right now as far as hip hop goes. You know, I also love going to the symphony. You know, I sort of like it all. I can't really think of any sort of music I don't like quite. Well, I can't think of one. I'm not a huge fan of noise. When I lived in Baltimore, Maryland, where I lived before I moved out here, in particular, I remember there was a noise festival right outside my apartment for a full weekend. And yeah, after that experience, in there especially, I don't think it's as big out in Denver, but yet the noise scene was very big in the Mid-Atlantic, in New York and Baltimore. And a lot of the young students that I worked with all listened to noise. And you know, right, to each their own. But I guess that's probably the one that I would be most far away from. But like, you know, I love the noise components of many popular artists. Pink Floyd comes to mind. You know, early, you know, people that experimented with noise a little bit more in their music. You know, and I do think it is also philosophically interesting, and I might even bring this up at some point in a discussion in this class. But you know, when does noise stop being noise and starts being music? You know, like, and it's also, I think, fantastic and really important to note that you know, we probably communicated with music before we did language. So you know, the idea that music can, you know, deeply affect our mood. I mean, to me, it's like a no-brainer, right? I mean, like if words can console me, music most certainly should. It's deeper ingrained in my brain and mind. But here, now let's switch over and look at the syllabus real quick. So, you know, this is an asynchronous online class. Everything's designed so that we never have to be in the room at the same time. I am very happy to create Zoom meetings on demand. I'm even happy to do group study groups if that's what we want to do. The issue there is just when. You know, I can create a time, but that block of time won't work for everybody, which is why I prefer to communicate through our virtual office and then set up individual or group discussion meetings on demand. But you know, I'm very open to creating a standing weekly meeting. If you guys want that, let me know. I'm here. I work for you guys. You know, for the PowerPoint files in this class. So I'm starting to adapt everything from PowerPoint to YouTube. I'm about halfway there in this class. Some of the early PowerPoint videos in this class are still scratchy. They were recorded before I had a good microphone. Those are being replaced. I apologize for the poor audio that might come up in one or two of the early voiced over PowerPoints. I have created some YouTube alternatives that I think are better, but not everybody prefers those. So I'm trying to give you guys options and leaving both in for now. You know, but reviewing either the YouTube or the PowerPoint presentation videos will help you prepare for the quiz. I don't test you on stuff from the textbook. You know, everything that I test you on is going to come from the actual lecture material. You know, the book is there as a supplemental guide to help you understand. So how I would prepare for this class is I would listen to my voiced over PowerPoint presentations or YouTube videos, and then I would go back and focus on the learning objectives and try to teach those learning objectives out loud. If you can do that, you're going to be well prepared to do well on the quiz. The quiz, you know, should be primarily based on information and content brought up in the PowerPoint presentations. Right. And also I'll point out that you could probably get by without buying this book. I purposely did not list it at the bookstore because I didn't want you to buy it yet. I wanted you to get in the shell and think about it first. The first few chapters are posted there. You can find them in the modules. Really, the first chapter where we talk about pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics is the only one that I think you should read. And then after that, I go off book so much. I mean, I'm not even looking at the book. I don't know that it's going to help you much more than other resources that you can find for a cheaper price. At the very least, look at what I have for you in the modules already up in there. I've also scanned in a good many other little portions of the book that might save you the money of buying it. You can also rent the book. I've already talked about myself a little bit. I've done a lot of things. I've studied a lot of different drugs, primarily by measuring neurotransmission and operant behavior, where the animal presses a lever to get like an IV. I put a catheter into their jugular vein so the animals can self-administer heroin or cocaine themselves and then see how that changes in the brain. The animals don't self-administer cannabinoids very well for a variety of reasons. In my opinion, the most importantly being that it has such a long half-life. Like cocaine is through the system pretty quickly, so you get very clear, consistent behavior, whereas cannabinoids, not quite the same. In addition to developing a content knowledge of behavioral and neuropharmacology, I also want you to develop critical thinking and oral communication skills and understanding of research methods in neuroscience. We'll do this by evaluating the validity of scientific content on drugs presented by experts in the field and then discussing your opinions with your peers. We're going to do this through something called Flipgrid, which I will have set up by the end of the day. You can create an initial Flipgrid post introducing yourself to the class. Think of this as a freebie that not only helps you build a connection with your peers, but will also help you learn the technology before you have to use it for a grade. Please access Flipgrid through the Canvas shell rather than directly through Flipgrid. Otherwise, our TA will not be able to see your posts when they go to look for them in Canvas, and it will look like you have nothing submitted, which, that's not good for anybody. If that happens, and I guarantee you it will, don't worry about it. Let me know. We'll work it out. We'll find your post. But just know it'll be a lot easier on everybody, including yourself, if you post through Canvas for your discussion posts. The pro about Flipgrid is you get to see your peers, so you feel a little bit more connection than you do through text-based discussions. The downsides are, it does require you making a recording, and then also the back and forth discussion in Flipgrid is not good. It is a flaw. So what I want you to do is post your thoughts and then post responses of 3 or so of your peers. And that will be the basis of our feedback and discussions. The final exam in this class is a little different than what you've done before. Your final exam questions are already listed for you in the module section. And if you go, you will also see that many of these questions start appearing in the quizzes through the year. This is all intentional. I am not trying to trick you. These are the things that I want you to know. And I want you to be able to describe these things to me using short answer essays. I don't really care so much about full sentences or grammar. For all I care, you can use bullet points. And I've instructed our TA to grade bullet points positively. What I care is that you convey the information. And think of the quizzes also as a bit of a practice run and will help you develop the best answer possible for your final exam. In an ideal world, your final exam answers will be prepared by the end of the year. You will do this over the course of the year. and then copy and paste them into your final exam. Your final exam might take you 1 minute to take, because I will ask you some random questions from the list provided in the modules. And if you've already prepared answers for all of them, all you have to do is copy and paste them in, and you're done. That's it. That's what I'm looking for there. To receive a B plus A minus range on the final will require a perfect answer based on class content. So you can make an A on your final by simply giving me a perfect answer in course content. Now, if you wanted an A plus to really just go above and beyond, a perfect score on every answer in your final exam, how to really get there is to go a little above and beyond my course content. In the behavioral neuroscience class that I offer, that's a little more advanced than this for the final exam, I require the students to do research above and beyond what I taught and upload that as, that is what, I'm really assessing your ability to research. And similarly here, like, I care a little less about you being able to regurgitate my own words and a little bit more about you being able to integrate my words with those that you've learned in other classes and those that you are reading on your own, doing your own research, finding resources that might even contradict what I'm teaching you. So my point is that that is fair game and will help your grade rather than hurt it. If you bring in material from another class, let's say you learn something from Dr. Zinzer in abnormal psychology that doesn't completely gel with what I taught you here, that is an excellent opportunity, is the way that I'm looking at it, for you to have some deep thinking. So most likely, in this, if that or the scenario, my guess would be that neither of us are completely wrong, but we are approaching some content from different perspectives. And there are lots of different perspectives out there in the literature and in science and in the world. And I don't want you to be forced to have my perspective. If you learn something in another class, somewhat, that you think is, a very good point, you are more than welcome to bring that in here, even if it contradicts me. Just be sure that if you're bringing in external resources, to just add a little insect text citation when you do, and then let me know, like, down below, like, this is from a lecture in this other class, this is from this other article that I read. That will help your grade rather than hurt it. If you wanted to go above and beyond just regurgitating my own words, if you really want that A plus, do that. Quizzes are going to basically be due every week at by Sunday at midnight. If you're going to be out of town, let me know. You generally have 15 minutes to attempt each quiz. This will be relatively tight, just so you know, on some of them, especially with the short answers. The idea is that hopefully you've already reviewed the learning objectives, and if you're able to teach the learning objectives out loud, which is the best way to prepare for a quiz, you will be able to answer a short answer question efficiently. If you struggle to answer the short answer question efficiently, my argument will be that you might need to review that material a little bit more. And on the bright side, if it was a short answer, most likely you'll see it again on the final. So you will get a chance to earn some of those points back. There are also a considerable number of drops on your quizzes that you can take. So, if you take all of your quizzes, I will drop the lowest 3. I will also drop additional if the majority of the students complete your FCQs. It's very important that the students complete their FCQs so I can get feedback, both qualitative and quantitative, on my performance. I'm trying to evolve. I'm trying to be better for you. So I need that feedback. And I need it from the majority of the class. So if you guys do that, I will participate in this grand deal where you will have quizzes dropped. And by dropping those quizzes, not only can you take a bad grade if you just didn't prepare well for a quiz that week, I also want you to be able to take mental health breaks here. That's part of the drops as well. You know, over the course of a semester, I think all of us, including myself, are going to have 1 week where it's just really hard to get out of bed to perform at maximal efficiency. So, think of those drops as being there for that to happen. And if you are superhuman, unlike me, and that never comes up, then, take a week off if you want. Build in a vacation, build in a trip to the mountains. I don't care. Just know that you have many options with those drops, that can make up a bad grade, that can deal with mental health, that can deal with your friend's wedding. All of that is built in. I've already talked about the final exam a little bit. Look it over. I'll also provide a representative final exam for you. So I have built this little calendar here so you can know exactly what we need to do as we go through. The discussions are one of my favorite parts of the class. For these, I'm pretty much going to be out of the area, just so you know. It is my opinion that the best classes are ones in which you learn as much from your peers as you do the professor. I've taken many classes, and those where I'm just basically regurgitating the professor's words are the worst, at least to me. So, I want you to go in there. And also, I find that if the professor is hovering over you, you are less likely to speak freely. So I want you to be able to speak freely with your peers on these discussion topics. Note that you don't have to participate in all of them, but you can. Again, drops have been built in, so you can also pick the topics you are most interested in. I would like you to respond to any 5 members, within a 2-week period, to, basically, show that that is really the discussion part. I mean, that's the flaw of Flipgrid. You don't get the great back and forth discussion. So, the TA will primarily be grading you for your original post, but I have instructed them that if they notice that you are not responding to your peers, either they or I will deduct 25% of the points from your original post if you are not participating in discussion or commenting on your peers' posts. So these are the things that we will potentially be discussing. There's 7 total topics. Again, I think I wanted you to discuss a total of 4. Yep, you must complete 4 of the 7 discussions. Here are the 7 discussion topics. The first, is basically on drug scheduling. This article by David Nutt that looks into some alternative scheduling approaches. I might go ahead and post one critique of his critique, just more to stir the pot there to get things rolling rather than to indoctrinate. I will not be coming in and hovering over you and judging you on your opinions. Your opinions are your opinions, and, you are allowed to be for or against any of these articles. These are not things that are like, I'm telling you this is how it is. This is something I want you to think about. And your opinions are welcome, no matter what they are. If you think that nut is a nut, you're allowed to say that. If you think that he's really onto something too, you're able to say that too. And most importantly, you students, your peers, are allowed to disagree with each other, but to do so respectfully. We'll get back to class norms here, or discussion norms. I'll send out an individual post just about that later because this is already getting long. But here are the discussion topics that you may choose to discuss with your peers. You don't have to do all of them. there might be reasons you prefer some and want to avoid others. That is completely okay and up to you. The content for the class is always going to be occurring in these weekly sort of chunked modules. You'll see that the first, and the entire class I think of as being in thirds. The first through third really focuses on pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. That tends to be the most difficult portion of the class for most students. Then we get into what I think of as more the drugs of abuse unit, where we talk about, cannabinoids, opioids, cocaine. And then the last bit, we get into more clinical pharmacology, drugs that we harness to treat psychiatric disease. And in a nutshell, that is the class. So this is how you post a Flipgrid. All posts will be cut off at 180 seconds. And this is exactly how you post. I will get that running by the end of the day. So you'll be able to post by the end of the day today. And I'll also be sending out an additional little message by our first discussion post on our class norms. But, in a nutshell, all opinions are welcome. There are no right or wrong answers with these. It's okay to disagree with people's opinions, but we critique the information. We critique the opinion rather than the person. And most importantly, we do not make assumptions out of people's identities based on things that they say in these rooms. Quite honestly, I would encourage you to even maybe try out some perspectives like clothes in these halls, in this lecture hall. You are not, we are not trying to determine if you are a good person. We are trying to determine, basically if you are thinking critically about some of these concepts. And some of them can get quite controversial. Like, for example, should psychedelics be used in psychiatric medicine? It's very common that we have law enforcement in these classes, former law enforcement, people that work with drug-dependent subjects, patients, people going into the medical field, people who are themselves dependent on drugs. In fact, statistically, I'd be willing to bet that a large percentage of people in this class are dependent on drugs. And, can cannabis be a gateway in that? Can it lead to it? That's something else we'll touch on a little bit. And hopefully not everybody will agree on that, because I certainly don't agree with any side in that argument. I have bounced all over the place. And, I don't really think that I have strong convictions on that one. I'm pretty open-minded, as I am with pretty much all of these discussions we're having. Are women more susceptible to addiction than men? This is also a controversial one. And it's also worth pointing out that all of the literature, for the most part, that's out there has been done in rats. And, so there is a literature showing that female rats, especially during the estrus phase of the estrus cycle, they're what's comparable somewhat to the menstrual cycle, that during that phase, female rats will work harder for almost all drugs of abuse and take larger quantities of them. Now, right, that I think is an interesting concept, and it's also possible that in the history of medicine in America, things like laudanum, where we basically made women opioid addicts or dependent subjects, like that was right. Not something that would have been considered addiction at the time. and really still might not be historically somehow. So things that we have called, addictions, or that we might think of addictions now, maybe weren't thought of historically, and that plays a role in the sex difference addiction debate. But now there is emerging evidence that gender and biological sex are distinct concepts neurobiologically, like whereas uh, like that adds an entirely different wrinkle here, does it not? To say, and I don't know how relevant that the sex difference studies in rats have to offer in terms of our conception of gender, and how transgender individuals in particular might be brought in or drawn to experimentation with drugs. First, uh, to maybe something feels a little different mentally, and you're detecting that, and so self-medication might even lead you to drug experimentation. Furthermore, social ostracization and that environmental component can certainly harden addiction during the drug experimentation phase. You're more likely to have sort of addiction stamped in a sort of a unsupportive, stressful environment. So these are all things to consider. But my point is that any of those things can be considered sensitive topics, and rather than avoid sensitive conversations, what we're going to do is we're still going to have them, and everybody is allowed to have their opinions. And we are going to convey those opinions with respect. And we are going to not make assumptions about people's identities based off of the things that they say. In fact, it might even be a safe assumption to say that maybe they're trying out an idea that they don't even necessarily believe in. They would like some peer feedback on this perspective. What do their peers think? I think that's a better way to have these sorts of conversations rather than, us attacking each other inside and outside of class. So that's what I want to strive for there. I am here. If you need me, virtual office is a great way to contact me because everybody can see that, and including our interactions. Oftentimes, your peer is going to have the same question. So if we do a lot of our interaction there, it will benefit everybody. However, I'm very happy to set up individual Zoom meetings, etc., on demand. Just let me know what you want. I am here to help you. Thank you for your attention. Have a great class.